Hi crafters, it's Kathy from Scrap and Bean. Today making this nice little dragonfly card. This is available as a kit at Scrap and Bean to make this single card while supplies last. There'll be a link under the video where you can just click on and go right to our website to find that kit. So to start with on this, I have some black cardstock, which comes in your kit. Just crease it in half, and there we've got the base for our card. Then the next layer is going to be this nice colored pattern paper, and I am just taking some black soot. I happen to be using oxide ink, but you could use any black ink that you've got. It doesn't even have to be Distress. And just inking all four sides. I like to do the corners a little bit extra ink. Just my own preference. You can do it how you like. That's going to be layered on to there. But before I glue it down, I am going to end up putting twine over it. So I'll just move my base aside and work with this mat. And I will have it the right way up here. So my next step is going to be putting down some chipboard. This is Southern Ridge chipboard, which is a Canadian company. It's nice to have. Sometimes when you get your chipboard, there's some extra pieces that just haven't fallen out, or what they call weeding it out. So you just poke those out, sometimes with your finger. Sometimes I just take the tip of a sharp scissor if it's a small piece and just poke that out. And then I want to color this black to go along with my black theme I got going on there. So a couple different ways that you can color it. One is, while I've got my ink pad out, I could do this and just color it. In fact, I think I will. I was going to say you could also take a Sharpie or a marker of any brand and just color your chipboard as well, or you can paint it, you can put ink on it, whatever you have. Chipboard is so versatile. I just love it. So this one, since I've got my ink pad out, I'm just going to use that. So there, we've got some black chipboard just that fast. And it's going to be on this side, and I do need some liquid glue. Happen to have handy. Any kind of liquid glue is going to work to hold that down. I do like to use a glue that dries clear. So that way, if I'm a little bit messy, that's okay. And I'm just going to glue that. Am I going to glue it yet? No, I have another layer I want to put in there. So as part of the kit, you will get this die cut piece, this nice quatrefoil design, and that comes from, this pre-cut piece is included in your kit, but it's coming from this die here, which is actually a nice two-part die. So you get this centerpiece and you get the frame. So the frame cuts out, I know here it looks like it's square, but if you can see the die cuts on there, it's got this little curve line on it. So that's what gives you this outer little design here. And then it has the inside that cuts. So you could use them separately. You could just use this design and have a solid piece or a window of that shape. You can use this piece by itself, or you can use the two of them together like I've done here. Now for this card, I set those aside before I knocked it back on the floor again. For this one, I just want some pieces of this. So I'm actually going to cut this apart. So just another way to use your dies, right? And I actually don't want any of that frame on there. So I'll just cut it off, and you can see I'm not being very neat. I want this to be I want it to be kind of like an irregular shape. So, and I just want a piece of it sticking out. So I'm going to even cut it smaller than that. Have a piece down here and a piece up here, but I don't want it to be perfect. So I'll just cut out some extra little pieces. And I'll even put it crooked And I'm going to do the same down here. I just want some of this gone. Just going to trim that till I feel like it's right, and I'm going to put it like this, something like that. And again, I'm going to ink it, so I'm just using the back of my paper here. Just put some ink, black edges on everything, so it just ties the whole project together. So not the whole thing is inked, just some edges. I've got some black on there, and it helps it to show up a little bit against the background, and I kind of think I want it a little bit darker. So here I go getting black all over my fingers, but you know what? That's part of crafting, getting dirty fingers. That's like a smile on your hands. Alrighty. So I'm going to put those like this, and then I'm going to put my chipboard down. So I'll put a little bit of, I'm just going to put a glob of glue, if I can get that to come out now. Time for a new bottle, I guess. These globs are going to be hidden, so I just have them underneath there where they're going to hold, and then I'll have them covered up, so I'm not being real particular with them. Now I can put my chipboard down, and it's just kind of roughly in the center. Right now that looks like a bit of a mess, but it'll come together. My next layer is going to be, this is a stamp, which is this deep red stamp here. And I've stamped it on an old book page, which you can just rip something out of an old book, or you can purchase these at Scrap and Bean. If you look on our website, you just do a search for chapters, and you buy these old books one chapter at a time. You have 10 pages. Yep. And I'm going to tear this down a little bit smaller, and I want it torn so it's very irregular. I certainly don't want it to be a perfect square. And if I put down I'm going to tear it a little bit more. So the smaller I make it, the more of this chipboard piece and the more of the background paper that's going to show up. And these little pieces that you're tearing off, you can save these to collage on something else too, which would be very cool. There, now I get to see a lot of my chipboard. So I like that. So I'll ink the edges of this in the same black ink that you've used for all your other edges. And then on top of that, I want to do a couple of little tears. So maybe one there, and then I also want to curl my edges. So I'm just going to use this. This is actually a bamboo skewer. So yeah, it's something you put your shish kebabs on the barbecue. And I use that a lot in crafting. It's one of my little secret tools. But it just works so perfectly for this. You could use a narrow paintbrush handle. Anything you can find that's narrow. You could use a pencil, but they're generally a little bit thicker than this. So that's what I'll do. And I'm even going to ink up the back side of these curls just a little bit. There you go. Got my fingers nicely inked up. And then I'm going to put this down. Now because there's like this ridge is up a little higher, the center's a valley, and I don't want this to sink down into the center, I am going to put some of these foam adhesives. Hopefully I haven't gone right off the camera yet. Oh, and my little tear on here, I forgot to show you that. This where I tore it, I want that to really stand out that I've torn it. So I'm going to ink those little edges, if I can ink the little tears. And I'm even going to curl this up a little bit. so that it really stands out there that it's a torn old piece of paper. And actually with the black on it, it kind of almost looks like it might have got burnt a little bit. So I'm really liking that super aged look. So we'll do that. Helps that to stand out that it's torn. And I need to take my adhesive off the back here. Sorry, that's a little bit boring to watch me peel adhesive. And I'm just going to plop that down in roughly the center area. There we go, nice. I'm liking that. And then I also want to put some twine around the whole thing. That's just going to add some more texture. And excuse me while I put the lid back on my glue, or I'm going to have that drying out on me. So, did I cut this long enough? And you could tie this in a bow, but I think I'm just going to tie this into a knot for this particular project. And I need one of you to put your finger there so I can get that into a knot. It's one of the benefits of crafting with your friends, right? Somebody could lend you a finger. Okay, I'm just going to struggle there without having an extra hand. One of these directions will lay down flatter. There we go. I cut off my excess here. And like I said, you could do that in a bow if that's what you prefer, but I'm good with just having it that way. Now the next thing I wanted to do is I have this same stamp. I have also stamped in on a piece of vellum, and I just want to cut out the wings. So in the kit you will get this piece stamped on vellum as well, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the wings. So I'm leaving the body, like I'm cutting the head right off. All I'm after is the wings. And the same with that tail of the dragonfly, that's just going to be disappearing. And I'll round that wing a little bit. And then we'll just do a quick trim on this side. And then with my thumbnail, I'm just going to make it fold in the middle. So now I've got these wings that look like they're ready to fly. And I'm going to glue that right down on top of the body of the dragonfly so that he's not just wings, he's got a body back there again. And just with my liquid adhesive in the center. So now he's become dimensional. So you can see his wings sticking up there. And I also want to add stickles, but I better do that the last step. So I have a key. Where do I have a key? These little keys come with actually some adhesive on the back there, but if you didn't have adhesive, you just glue it down. And that kind of replaces his body back again and just gives it something interesting. And now I am ready to glue him down onto my card base. Perfect. So I'm going to use some of this sukwang on the back of my card. And normally I don't put a lot of sukwang on. I put it at the top and the bottom because it's super strong adhesive. Because this has this key on there, it's metal and it's a little heavier, so I'm just going to put this extra row down the middle and peel those off. If you ever have problems with your sukwang that you just can't peel the end up, here's the trick. Take your nail and actually press it down extra hard right on the end. And then when you run your nail by it and run it by the other direction, it just catches right on there and pulls it off for you really nice. So I know it seems counterintuitive to press it down extra hard if you're having a hard time, but that seems to really work. Then I'm just going to kind of eyeball that to center roughly there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of Stickles. I'm using this Stardust Stickles, so it's mostly clear, but it's got lots of specks of color. And I am just going to put it all over the wings here. So what I'm doing is I squeeze the bottle enough to get out a little bit, like about that much. So I think you can see there's a little glob of it here. And then I'm no longer squeezing the bottle. I'm just using this tip to kind of smear it around and cover the whole wing. So it might look on camera like I'm just squeezing it out all over the place, but I'm actually not squeezing anymore. Do the same with the next one. I just squeeze a little bit out in the middle of the wing, and then I use the tip of the bottle to just spread that around. Look at that. So you can see the one side that's glistening. Hopefully that shows up on camera. And then the other side I haven't done yet. So you could go for either look, but I really like Dragonfly wings because they're so iridescent in real life that I really like to give them that look on my projects as well. Now the thicker you put the Stickles down, the longer it's going to take to dry. And actually this is not very thick because it's just a covering, so it doesn't no need to be thick. And don't be surprised if your vellum curls a little bit. You can probably see that. Instead of being flat, it's actually rolling from the Stickles being on there while it's wet. When it dries, it will go a little bit less rolled, but actually with that movement on there and that extra shape, it just makes it look, you know, gives it a little bit more life. I like those wings to stick up. And so there we have our project for today. So be sure to check and click the link below the video so that you can get your kit to make this card too. And don't wait too long because there is only a limited amount. Happy crafting!